Soltar Solutions, and I'm here today with another segment of Focus Forward. I am so excited to have our guest with us today. He is Victor Kwegyir, and he's right out of London. And I recently met Victor, and I just had to bring him on the show. He has such an interesting story. He is the author of the upcoming book, You're Fired, Now What? You gotta love that title. I mean, who doesn't love that title, right? I mean, it's perfect. And this is his second book, so he's gonna tell us about his first book as well. And then the other thing is, you know, Victor has all the advanced degrees. He has advanced degrees, certificates, he has all of that. But he keeps moving forward and doing things with his life that few people could dream about. So Victor, thank you so much for being on the show today. So I want you to tell us. You're welcome. I want you to tell us all about the book.
Well, the book is an interesting one because we thought I had to connect with my co-author who is based in Louisiana. And we thought, what a time to come up with a book like that to help those who have been affected one way or the other by the current state of the economy around the world, be it either having been fired or they found the number of hours in the job situation cut down, and they are looking for ways to turn out around the event or make the best out of the current situation that they find themselves in. So that is the reason why we wrote the book. And it's an exciting book to write because we find that there was an opportunity for us to really explore what we have been doing over the years when we found ourselves in similar situation and how far we've come by taking advantage of the opportunities that we have taken advantage of.
So one of the questions that begs to be asked here is, when you write a book like You're Fired, Now What? Okay? That is like telling the world that you've been fired. Is that right? You know,
Absolutely.
It's like
yes.
A lot of people wouldn't want to admit that.
Yes, I have been fired before, and my co-author has also been fired before. I was actually fired at the height of the economic downturn in 2008 from my last employment. So for us, it's basically, like going back and just retracing your steps to see, just to kind of keep track of how far you've come from where you originally were fired or the challenge that you faced.
Okay, so what do you do? What do you do? What's the now what? What is it? What do you do when you're fired? When you hear those words?
Yes, the first thing I challenge people to do, first time you got to accept it. That hey, this has happened. It has happened before. You're not the only person. And I'm sorry to say, I'm not wanting to be a prophet of doom, but it's going to happen. And I mean, from all the indicators, it's something that's going to be around for a while now. So you've got to first and foremost accept the fact that this is something that's happened, and therefore you need to really accept it. And secondly, you need to now make a decision. Okay, what are the options? All right, and we do talk about the options in the book. I mean, one of the options would be, well, do I look for a second job, which is most definitely what most people try to do. Secondly, do I take the opportunity to further my education, get more skills, get more education, improve upon whatever skill level that I used to have? Or the most interesting option that we think that is very, very important and we challenge people to look at, all right, if the world has failed you, if the government has failed you, if the business you trusted for 20 years has failed you, in a way, what can I do to myself? You owe it to yourself not to fail yourself. So we challenge you. Now look at the possibility of going into business for yourself. So those are the first basic 3 steps that we challenge people to consider.
Okay, so let's roll back to the first one, because the first one I think is a really important one. So what most people do when they get fired, I think, is they tend to want to hide. They want to blame the company. They spend a lot of time and a lot of energy in that negative mode. So what does that really do for people?
One, you want to give yourself the chance to kind of exhale and really express your anger one way or the other. Obviously, don't go to the extreme, okay? But I think I would say that we give you the permission to be angry, okay, to be frustrated. However, you don't have to remain in that mode for long, because if you've got some level of responsibility that you take care of, then you want to now quickly kind of recollect yourself, take a few steps back, and now sit down to really take that conscious steps that we've highlighted. Because you cannot just be in that negative mode for long. Yes, you are permitted to be angry, you are permitted to be frustrated, you are permitted to be, just want to just give up. But listen, you've got bills to pay, you need to take care of yourself or your family or whoever you are responsible for. So you are not permitted to stay there for that long, but you are permitted to be angry or to be frustrated.
Okay, and then the next thing, after you get over that, which hopefully, the quicker the better for that,
Yeah.
when you accept something, you just say, okay, this is it, this has happened, now it's time to move on. And then that next step that you're talking about, I think is a really important step, because it's almost, okay, let's take an evaluation, right? Of your skills and your passion and what you want to do. Maybe you're going to retrain, whatever. How long does that step normally take for people?
It depends, because for some, it might be wanting to pursue a whole degree course. Okay, so obviously that will be that will go according to the length of the degree. But for some, it might be just going to take advantage of just an apprenticeship or going to understudy someone who is probably doing something that you've always desired to do, but you've never had the time because you had a job to do. Or you might want to just go in for a basic part-time vocational course whilst you are still looking for a job or whilst you start something for yourself. So it varies based on what is it you want to pursue. And it's not only just the academic aspect. You might, like I said, you might want to go in for an apprenticeship or understudy someone, or just sit back. There's information so much available on Google, on the net, and you might want to just equip yourself with various online courses, a lot of which you can do part-time whilst you are still looking for a job or whilst you are still looking to start something for yourself.
Wow, that's great. It's so true. So now when we look at that, one of the things that I'm really curious about is when people make those changes, is it better to make a change that's very, you're easing into something, or is it better to make like a big change for people? What do you hear when you talk to people?
Well, what happens is the big change seems to scare a lot of people, and that is one thing that kind of limits people from wanting to even make a move forward. So what we challenge people to do is, listen, you want to make you want to make changes, but you don't want to kind of take too much leap, because if you take too much leap or you jump too far and you are not well informed or well equipped, you are more likely to crash, and that can really be a very big demoralizing issue for you. So it is very important to take it one day at a time, okay, and take it step by step. For instance, if you decide the option, which we really challenge people to do in this book, in starting a business, you don't want to just get up and say, oh, all right, I love to do this, I know how to do this, and just get up and do it. You want to really start doing a bit of research about what it is you want to do. And that might take a couple of days, could take a couple of hours, but you need to really take time to sit down, to really plan it, because you don't want to just leap out there and out of desperation or because you're excited about a dream and end up failing, because that's one of the major reasons why a lot of people start it, but they end up failing.
Okay, excellent. That's really good advice. So now when we look at taking that inventory and doing those things, I haven't seen your book because it's not published yet. So I just want to ask, are you incorporating some of those ideas and maybe worksheets and things like that into your book?
Yes, we do have. And in the first book, for instance, I've got an outline for writing down a plan, because it is very essential that in the process of starting out, you really put together a plan, because the beauty of the plan is that it helps you to realistically assess the viability of what it is you want to do. The fact that you're excited in doing something doesn't necessarily mean it's something that is going to work or something that is going to succeed. It is very important to really assess to see how viable this is. And even if it's not viable on the face of it, you want to now sit down and see, how can I make this a viable option? So it is very important that you really plan, and that is, you can find all the details of that in the first book. However, in the second book, we have also highlighted a few basic systems that you want to have in place when you start, to make sure that you start on a very good foundation and you have all the considerations and the basics covered, so that you build on something that is really realistic and that is potentially viable and can be on the long haul.
Okay, so we're here talking in a way about two books. So we have
Yes.
the You're Fired, Now What? And then the other book that you have is about actually starting your own business.
Yes, the business you can start, which I have a copy over here.
Excellent, excellent,
That is-
excellent. So tell us about this book.
Well, with this book, what I set out to do is first and foremost highlight the benefits of the economic downturn. Because most people on the face of it think that the economic downturn is all doom and gloom. But I challenge people, no, this is not all doom and gloom. There's so much out there that we can extract and take advantage of. And I really go ahead to do a lot of research to come up with a lot of organizations we know today in the Dow Jones Industrial Average who all started during one economic downturn or the other. I also show people 30 ways of how to identify business opportunities. Because yes, you want to do something. There are some who are already passionate in what they have to do, but there are others who don't know where to start from. So I challenge people that you want to really, I show them how to identify business opportunities. There are 30 ways of doing that. And I help them to make the basic choices with regards to what kind of legal structure you want your business to take. What kind of business model? Do you want to start from a home-based business, or you want to start from an office-based business? You want to start as a franchise, or you want to go in for a franchise, or you want to just create a product and license it out. I give them the pros and cons. Do you want to go as a sole trader or as a limited liability company? What best option fits you or suits you? How do you distinguish yourself? How do you create a brand out of your business? And the basic steps that it takes to start, from the naming of your business to registering the business to what kind of marketing strategy you need to adopt, the sales strategy, the advertising strategy, and all those basic things. So it's a kind of a small book, but it's very, very comprehensive. And we think that anyone out there who wants to make the best of the times will benefit from having the two books in their hand and taking advantage of it to create something for a better future for themselves.
So I know you have an MBA. Is your MBA actually in business administration or something like that?
Yes. Yes, I did it in banking and finance. It's a long name, okay? The name is Management for Developing International Financial Systems, which is a kind of a follow-up from what I used to do, because I used to work in a bank, and I really love the finance field, and that's partly my major background over the years.
Well, that sounds really great, because a lot of people don't start a business because they can't figure out all these details. And as a business consultant, that's one of the first questions people ask me. Which type of entity should I have? And often it really depends upon what your end goals are, and also your individual situation. And a lot of people just have to go and they pay an accountant or a lawyer to help them figure out what's best. It would be really great to be armed with that knowledge. So how can people get your book?
Yes, my book is available on Amazon, and it's available on my website as well.
Okay.
You can also get copies on Kindle. The ebook version is available on Kindle, and you can get from Barnes and Nobles as well. And virtually, if you go into any bookstore, they can order it for you because of print on demand. So it can be ordered for you, and within a couple of days, it will be in your hand. And you can visit my website, which is www.vikebusinessservices.com. That is VIKE businessservices.com.
Excellent. Well, we'll also have that on the bottom of the screen so people can check you out. Very fascinating information that you have on your website, and it's phenomenal. So now one of the questions I have is, how did you get to be, first of all, how did you get to be so knowledgeable about this? And, because this is more than just an education. You go to school, you learn things, but you have really practical knowledge. And the other thing is, what makes you keep wanting to move forward with the things that you're doing?
I guess it's a personal thing, a quest to want a better life for myself and also be able to help the many I find very disadvantaged out there. Because I come from a nation where it's supposed to be a developing nation, but I think that there are a lot of things that could be done better, or there are a lot of lives there that are going waste because of the lack of opportunities. So for me, it's been a personal journey of wanting to have the best of life, because whilst back home, before even I traveled outside the country to come to the United Kingdom, I came across, watching CNN, watching international news, watching movies, you get to see that there are other things out there that could offer you a better life option. And I felt that if I just sit down there, I mean, I was working in a bank, and I would say I was found a privilege to be having a very good job, but that wasn't enough because that couldn't get me what I really wanted. So it's a personal journey of wanting a better life for myself, and also wanting to be able to be in a position to be able to practically help people who are going through challenges or people who are disadvantaged, because I find so many skills out there in where I come from, people who could have easily developed it, but one way or the other, they are stifled, and the frustration is shown in their lack of productivity and lack of creativity in turning out situations that they find around themselves for a better life. So these are the things that really drive me passionately.
So where exactly did you come from? Because I know right now you're in London, and you've been in London for a while. So where did you come from?
I come from Ghana, which is in West Africa, on the African continent.
Okay, so give us a little bit of an idea, because you know, a lot of our viewers, I'm sure, have been to London. We have an idea, but probably not that many people have ventured into Ghana. So tell us a little bit about Ghana, and then maybe what's the difference of going from Ghana to London, which is an international capital of the, you know, one of the world famous cities. I mean, what's that like?
Yeah. Well, the difference is massive. It's really huge. I mean, I remember the first time I got down here, I felt like I've just moved into a kind of fridge, you know, like a refrigerator, you know, because of the weather difference, you know. You're coming from a country with temperatures of about 30, 40 degrees, you know, that's a norm. And you come into a society, and I came in September, that is at the beginning of autumn. So you can imagine, it wasn't even that cold, but the difference was just too big. Besides that, I also found that the perception, the mentality is quite different, okay? The basics are, you kind of find a kind of structured and organized and orderly way of doing things here. So basically, whereas probably driving on the roads or going on a public transport is like a hassle, you know, you don't really get it that easily. Over here, you see everything is scheduled. So the shock is from everything. When you talk about what to eat, I mean, it becomes something else altogether. So it's a completely, I mean, when you get into the system, you realize that the West is completely different from, and at times I came to understand why a lot of them get surprised and they have the kind of mentality they have about the African continent, because the media also does not help. It gives a completely different picture of what Africa is. I mean, I just saw on Facebook somebody saying, one person was saying, I've been to Nigeria, and somebody says it's like Haiti. It's completely different. Nigeria is very advanced in a lot of ways, whereas you've got also the slums. So if somebody you keep on getting the media narrowing down on those. So those are the things. So we have a conception of what the United Kingdom or the West is. But when you come in, it's completely different, you know. And I used to write home to people and tell them, hey, listen, this thing is completely different. And I'm just amazed. I'm walking around at times, I just open my mouth, I gap, you know, just know, what is this, you know? And you really struggle to understand. Having said that, there are so many opportunities out here. And at times, I really find it strange to hear people sitting here and crying and blaming someone else. It really fascinates us. We don't seem to get it because the basics are perfectly set, you know, and I think that it is something that you can easily build on, whereas somebody from there will have it very, very difficult. I mean, some of us have been through a whole catalog of challenges to be where we are now, and we still face them. But the desire, I mean, the passion to become better and have a better life ourselves is keeping on causing us to still go against the tide and make something for ourselves.
Well, that's absolutely amazing. It kind of reminds me of when I first went to Dominican Republic. I was 18 years old, and I just couldn't believe that Dominican Republic was that way. When I got there, I couldn't believe that the United States was that way. It was just such a culture shock. And it took me quite a while. And also the other thing was I didn't speak Spanish when I got there. So I had to try to learn to speak Spanish and, you know, understand the culture, understand the language and all that. So that was really, but it was so different going from New York metropolitan area right to a developing nation. It was just a 3-hour plane ride away, but it was like being on another planet. It was so unusual. So, you're talking about the weather. You probably have no idea how cold it is here in Minnesota. I mean, it's very cold. London is very temperate compared to what it is like here in Minnesota. So, so when you look at your life, what do you see? You're talking about how we have a perception of the African continent, of the different countries. So the perception is often people have an idea about something that's relative to things that they already know. I think it's very difficult for us to even imagine, I've never been to Ghana, to even imagine what it's like in Ghana. So can you give us a little bit of an idea about what it's like so we can at least have that kind of concept in our brain?
That's a really big ask because it's very difficult to really describe. However, what I will say is this: if you, one basic thing I've found is that human beings are human beings everywhere. Mm-hmm. Okay, of course, if the environment is quite conducive and we have some basic things in place like good infrastructure, there's order, there's right political atmosphere and stuff, then you are most likely going to kind of offer the same platform. But where you are in a society where we lack these basic things like lighting system, I mean, I will call home and you'll be telling me the lights have gone off. Mm-hmm. When lights go off, basically, I mean, the way of life is completely delayed. I mean, you can't do a lot of things, you call people and you can't get through to their phone because probably there are a bit of rains and all of a sudden the phone line seems to have gone dead. Mm-hmm. Internet facilities are really limited. So you got these limitations there. And oftentimes when you see the chaos that goes on or what the media normally reports on, is because people are almost constantly frustrated with what the failures around them, okay? And that becomes like a precursor to any little thing can easily kind of cause people to decide to now go basically overboard and overreact in certain situations. Because people are always on the edge because of the limitations, the challenges, and because of globalization and technological advancement and the TV. We do see different lifestyles in different nations. Like people are able to, like I myself, I was seeing on the news. I mean, if you watch the news or you watch the movies and you see very good roads and beautiful houses and beautiful skyscrapers and stuff, it makes you realize, listen, life can be better than what I am facing now. Why are we not getting there? And we end up getting into debates and fights and things. So yes, there are so many challenges there, and those are the challenges that precipitates kind of stir up people and make people to at times overreact when they are not supposed to do. And at times you can't blame them. So the differences are just too wide and too big. However, I still believe that we can turn this around, okay? And that is some of the things that drive some of us in coming over here, taking advantage of what exists here, and try to creatively create something out of it for ourselves so we can become an example and also have the resources that it takes to help those who have got a similar desires but probably couldn't take the leap as we took.
Wow, it's really fascinating. When I lived in Dominican Republic, the lights would go out almost every night, especially in the summer. You didn't know if they were going to go out for an hour or if they were going to go out for 5 hours or more. There was a little routine we had. Then we would get water, we would do this, we would do that. So it was a whole routine. But the interesting thing about that is we always took that time to be with the family, maybe to take a walk around the neighborhood. By then people would take their, have their furniture outside. They'd be talking and, you really got to know the people in your neighborhood and have close relationships because of it that we probably wouldn't have had if we would have stayed in our air-conditioned homes. So there's always a trade-off. So we're going to wrap up soon, but I just want to ask you a quick question. In the book that you're talking about starting your business, I know that you have some famous people that you've actually interviewed for that book. So can you tell us about a few of the names that we would notice, that we would recognize?
Yeah, I think one of the most very recognizable name is Richard Branson. He's a guy that really I've connected with him on every social media platform, because I really get inspired by his way of going about things. I was just reading. I do quote him a lot of times in the book and research him as well. And I remember reading something about him with regards to how he started the Virgin Airplane when he was kind of American Airlines filled him when I think he was traveling to the UK, I think from the Dominican Republic or something like that. And they failed him, so he quickly just went around and organized people. And that was the first time he hired his first plane. I mean, he's such an inspirational guy, and you can't write about something like this and not be able to kind of evoke some of his examples and some of life experiences, because I mean, these are the people. I was just reading something about him, somebody talking about he being the first person to amass so many followers on LinkedIn, about 1 million people. And that's the first time somebody has been able to get so much following. And the person was just sharing that because of the way the guy is. I mean, such an inspirational guy. He said very creative. He's very witty. And I mean, it makes life easy and it makes it look like, hey, you can do it, irrespective of who you are. In our book, we did talk about him, talking about Father. Look at it. He's made it possible to say that now the sky is not even the limit, because he's able to come up with something that takes us, to the galaxy. So I mean, this is a guy, one of the few guys there that I think, for me, really inspires me a lot, and I'll always invoke him wherever I am. And I'm looking forward to meet him one day physically and really shake his hands and tell him, well done for all that you do, because such a great guy.
Well, I had the opportunity to work with him when I was in the television industry, and I absolutely loved it. He had such a phenomenal energy. You're like kind of relaxed, but also very on it. You could tell he was taking everything in. So, Victor, I hate to say this, but we have to wrap up. I really, really, really enjoyed talking to you today. I hope that you'll come on the show when your book comes out and talk a little bit about it. So thank you so much. And
thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Have a great day in London today. And this is Lori Flaquer from Focus Forward telling you to have a great day. Keep going as an entrepreneur. Make it happen. You can do it. And thanks so much for tuning in.
Hey, I am Robert Dempsey with this week's Tips from the Net, and today I want to talk about thanking your leads with surprise and delight. Now, when I say leads, I mean people that are getting onto an email list, folks that have signed up for webinars, whoever. Basically, the people that are not yet customers but do want to get information from you. Now, the barrier to entry for all of this is to have a thank you page, thanking the person for becoming a lead in whatever format, and also having a follow-up thank you email. But that's par for the course. We want to go beyond. We want to go above and beyond. So let me give you an example of this. I have on Triber what's called an atomic tribe. So people will automatically share my content in exchange for webinars. So effectively, these folks are kind of like leads. So what I do though is I held a webinar and about 40 people or so signed up for it. Half those people actually showed up. But for the people that showed up, I gave each of them a free competitors backlink analysis. Now, I won't get into what that is, but it is a $250 value that those people that attended that webinar got for free. They were very happy to get that. They didn't have to spend $250 to get that. It gives them a huge amount of value, and it was completely unexpected. I didn't tell them I was going to do it, and I just did it. So that is what I mean, giving them something of enormous value after the fact as a surprise, and thank them really for becoming a lead. So do that and you will be head and shoulders above many of the other people out there. So that's it for this week. I am Robert Dempsey, and I will see you for the next Tips from the Net.